Okay, so for the hipster racism article, it basically just defines hipster racism in the first couple like sentences, and uh, I basically took notes, noting like it's basically saying like colorblind racism that's in the form of comedy that depend on like the topic of ethnic, racial, gender, and sexual differences. So, the author also says like it reinforces colorblind racism values, like even as the characters' differences are increasingly central to the production of laughter, which I consider as like they just slowly like rely on like making poking fun at that like those specific subjects to like just for the like I don't know, for the sole purpose of making the audience like laugh, you know.
Um, in the article, the next thing they talk about is Diversity Day, which is one of the episodes we previously watched of The Office. Mm-hmm. And they basically talk about how Steve Carell doesn't ever get disciplined in the show, and how like nobody says anything back to him. They just like stare at him blankly, and his emotionally sincere delivery is offensive, like extremely offensive.
Mm-hmm. Basically saying like it's using racism as like a new convention, and it centralizes like the component of normalization of to which like of hipster racism, that's socially but also empathetic, and which is flawed between like which is played by like flawed white lead characters, which is also showed in The Office, which I completely agree with, just because of like if you watch like just like any entertainment or comedy sources, um most of the times they are of like, you know, the white race and stuff, and like they make sure the audience knows that they are flawed, you know, as well, like they're like flawed white leads. But I also think like it's not really acceptable just because of, well, the whole hipster racism itself is just not acceptable just because of like the um I don't know, for me I think it's just the whole purpose of it. It's not to some might be to emphasize, but like I think it's also more of an insult.
Yeah, well, it says in The Office, like in this article, that in The Office that Oscar reveals that he was more amused than offended by Michael's public apology. So like literally everything in The Office is just a big fat joke.
Going off of The Office again, like if you look at the core concepts that they always like display, it is ethnic, racial, gender, and sexual differences. Like the episodes are truly just based on like going back and forth between those different types of topics. So basically the author is also saying like that colorblind comedy like produces like a marketable interpretative ambiguity through contradictions in the show's writing and character development, to which like is basically saying like they use this to get more audience and views and relate to and like target a certain group of audience.
Yeah, they're trying to make it a younger, more, yeah.
Like it's more hip, it's more trendy, like
and there's no laugh track, so it's not like when it's appropriate to laugh, it's like literally completely silent all the time, basically. So
yeah. But
a lot of people don't find The Office funny at all. Like they just find it offensive, which in my opinion it is really offensive. But like if that's your humor, then go for it, I guess.
yeah, I think it's a different type of humor. It's more for people. It's like you either really like it or you don't like it at all. And
it's super dry, I feel like.
It's very raw, like no filter. Almost like even with Michael Scott, like he definitely is one of the characters that speaks upon like a lot about ethnic, racial, gender, and sexual differences that are very offensive. Yeah. And his intentions may be not to be that way, you know, but I think it's just a lack of knowledge on the character, and that's to which is also like implying like the flawed white leads that they talk about in this writing.
Exactly.
So I think from now on, like hipster racism, like it's definitely a big part of the comedy and entertainment industry, where it's not like you can just say like stop, because that'll just it's one way shape or form, like it's incorporated into most shows that
Yes.
most,
Nowadays, yes. That's just dry humor. That's
yeah, so
the comedy that people like nowadays.
yeah, so basically like I think it's more so like they could try to um incorporate more different subjects than just ethnic, racial, gender, and sexual differences, and approach it a different way.
Yeah, I agree. Because that stuff is like really touchy subject, and only certain types of groups will find it funny. So it's like really, you have to really hit the right audience.
Yeah. And I like the idea and the emphasis on like these subjects to bring attention to the audience and like, I don't know, show them almost like a different perspective of things, But some things I don't really see a purpose when watching certain shows. Like I don't really see a purpose in saying like certain remarks or anything like it just straight is an insult, and I think that's where hipster racism does come in through. So I think maybe um like reducing those would definitely even help like make a major impact on like how we may be able to view shows differently, I guess, too, but still enjoy them at the same time. It's not something it can go away, because it is a big part of the entertainment industry, and like writers purposely incorporate these things to grab the audience's attention, see what's the most, I guess, like relevant topic right now in the news and the media and stuff, and incorporate that into their writing to again, like it's a market, like it's a business.
I feel like it's almost impossible to like be comedic and a comedian without being like sort of offensive in one way or another to
offend someone like one way or the other without you trying.
Yeah.
People perceive things in such different ways than like what someone may have intended it for. But and it's not like we can be like, oh, like grow thicker skin to the audience, because that's also not fair. So what I said was like, since it's not going to go away, like, but since it's not going to go away, we should incorporate other like aspects and like perspectives that are less offensive, and take away a couple of like remarks that really don't really have a sole purpose, and like
Well,
like
even if you okay, fine, whatever. You want to be offensive, like you should incorporate in like the other side, like both sides of it, kind of, and like learn from it almost,
and not be too much biased towards a specific like
fiction.
So I think that's definitely going to help some like controversies like among like the hipster racism topic.
It's like the only reason hipster racism is a thing is just to get more views and like be more relatable to like the younger crowd. Is that it? Like,
yeah, it's basically saying like it's colorblind racism in the form of comedy, that like really does rely on like specifically ethnic, racial, gender, and sexual differences, which are, I think, the core like most sensitive subjects that are going on today and have been.